Hello you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lindsay, and if you are not new here, thank you for coming back. And today's video is going to be the first video in the Survivor series. If you are a little bit confused on what I'm talking about, I would go watch my life update video that I posted a couple weeks ago. It kind of goes through what the series is going to be about, but just for a brief description. If you did not know, I am a victim of Larry Nassar. I am a sister survivor, and so I wanted to create this vlog series called the Survivor series just as a place for people to come to relate to somebody who may have been through something similar to them, for any questions you want answered, my story in general, and sharing that just so people may find someone who has been through the same thing as them and doesn't feel so alone. For this vlog series, I have 11 videos. Now, that will be give or take depending on how this goes, just because if you guys want to see something that I don't have, I will add it in. If I have something that you guys don't care about, that you think is boring, then I will take it out. So as of right now, I do have 11 videos. I will be putting those in the description box down below so you guys can see what those are. I will also add them on the screen here right now. So these are the 11 that I have set, as well as I also took all the questions that you guys asked me from Instagram and divided those up into the topics of these videos. And if you submitted a question, it will be answered. I included every single one of them. If I did miss one, which I'm almost positive I didn't, I double checked about 3 times, let me know and I will add those in. But just if you don't hear your question answered in this video, that does not mean it won't be coming in the future. So with that being said, if you guys do have questions that come up along the way, or a question that makes you think of another question, anything like that, feel free to still send me a message. The 11th video in this series is going to be all of the unanswered questions that are still left over. So, or I guess maybe not the 11th video, but the last video that will be of the series. Keep that in mind, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this. I really want this to be a safe space for people. So if you have hate comments and you don't agree with what I'm doing, or you think that I'm lying about what happened to me, anything like that, please don't comment, because I want this to be a safe space for people who may not know how to open up yet, or may not have the courage to speak up, or just are really dealing with a lot of issues from sexual abuse, domestic violence, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, anything, just any type of abuse. I really want this to be a safe space for people. I really want to open up the conversation about abuse just because I think that it's important to talk about, because it's not talked about. And like I said before, I think that's why people get away with it so easily. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoy this video. This is going to serve as the introduction video to the entire series. And without further ado, let's just get started. Okay, so for this Survivor series, I really wanted to sit down and plan it out, so that way I knew that I was hitting everything I needed to without taking 100 hours to record one video and bore you guys to death. So I created a Word document that includes all 11 videos and all of the details that I wanted to cover in each video, plus that is where I sorted out all of your guys' questions. So there's a lot of information. I'm on page 4 already, and that is only including this video and half of the second video planned out. So there's going to be a lot of information, but like I said, hopefully I can kind of not make the videos as long because I have everything planned out. So I am going to be looking down at my laptop. I have it right here in front of me. So that way I'm making sure I'm not missing anything, I'm hitting everything I wanted to, etc. In this video, I am going to be describing to you guys how I met Larry Nassar and just kind of how this situation came to be in my life. I first met Larry when I was around 8 years old. I was training at a gym in Bay City, Michigan. That is where I'm from, and my parents brought up the idea to me of moving to Garrett's Twistars Gymnastics Club down in Dimondale, Michigan, which is very close to Lansing if you don't know where that's at. And so I decided that I wanted to make the move, and I moved down to Twistars and started training there for gymnastics. Obviously, with gymnastics comes injuries, and so once I had injured myself for the first time to where I needed medical attention, I went and saw Larry. Now, Larry did volunteer at Twistars. He was considered our team doctor there, so whenever you had an injury, that's just who you saw. And on top of that, that is really the only person that John Getter, who was the owner of Twistars and our head coach there, he was the only doctor that he would listen to. And if you had a doctor's note from somebody else that wasn't Larry, he didn't really take it as seriously and or take it at all of what that doctor said compared to what Larry would have said. So if you went to Twistars, you had to see Larry. Unless you needed surgery of some sort, Larry would then refer you to a surgeon, something like that. But at Twin Stars, that's just who you saw. That is who John made you see. And if you saw another doctor, that was disrespectful. It was looked down upon. So just to avoid any unnecessary drama, you saw Larry. Mine and Larry's relationship really started to thrive when my family and I moved to Holt. And originally we moved into a house that was near Holt High School. We decided that when my parents split, we weren't going to keep the house. And so my dad and I moved into a different house kind of towards the other side of Holt. And we ended up moving into Larry's neighborhood. So not only did I live in his neighborhood, he also worked for my school district. He was the athletic trainer for Holt High School, any of Holt sports. His kids were in my school district. He was trying to run for our school board. He was in my neighborhood. I would see him and his family all the time. So with that, obviously I created a very strong relationship with Larry, having all of these things in common with him, and we became very good family friends with him. And Larry was, I mean, I want to say like a family friend, but it seemed like more than that, because it wasn't just come over for dinner, hang out, watch TV, come over for the game. Larry was treating me for my injuries, which in return was helping me do gymnastics, which is what I loved doing the most. And so I really created a strong bond with him, and I had this level of trust with Larry that I really didn't have with anybody else. And Larry would come over for Christmas Eve. He was at our house one time. He would bring me Valentine's Day gifts. He would bring me birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, cards. When I was injured, he would come see me after surgeries. He was at my house very often, and in return, when I would need treatment for my back, I was at his house all the time. So I was diagnosed with Sherman's disease in 8th grade, which is basically my vertebrae are formed incorrectly, and I have informed vertebrae. They are chipped, they are cracked, they're just messed up. The cushion stuff between my vertebrae is not there anymore. I have a lot of bone-on-bone contact. My nerves are damaged in my back, so I had a lot of severe back issues. And Larry would do the treatment and claim that it was helping me. So I would go over to Larry's house probably 3 to 4 times a week, and that happened for years. So it was very convenient for me because I could walk to Larry's house. He was literally down the street and a left. I was 5 houses away from Larry. I was 5 houses away from treatment anytime I needed it. And when you're training upwards towards 25 to 30 hours a week, at that point when I was doing 2-a-days, I was hurting. I was in a lot of pain. And the fact that I was able to go to his house, and he was generous enough to let me go to his house 4 times a week, I felt special. And it was easy on my parents. It was easy for me to not have to stay at the gym extra time to get treatments there, because I could just go home and see him then. And we didn't have doctor bills. Our insurance wasn't getting billed. So I just thought that I was very, very lucky. And that is another way of how he gained my trust, was because I saw it as, I'm getting free treatment, my parents aren't having to pay for anything, I'm being seen 4 times a week, so when my body is hurting, and at one point my back was fractured, I was able to get to see Larry anytime I wanted. I mean, how privileged was I? I was so lucky. And so that was build of our relationship, basically, outside of the sport of gymnastics. And not only that, when my parents were separating, my parents had a very civil separation. I just want to add in, my parents are still very good friends. We still do all of our holidays together, birthdays, stuff like that. So I didn't have necessarily a rough time when my parents separated. I think it's just any kid, that's just tough to go through. But I would talk to him about that stuff. I would talk to him about exams at school, what I wanted to do when I went to college, where I wanted to go to college when I was being recruited. I would talk to him about John Getter when I was having bad days at practice, and I would complain to him about him. And Larry was the good guy. He was there to make you feel like you would be okay and everything is okay, and he's there to help you. And it was just a very, very much so that he would be willing to do anything to make you think he was a great person, and he did a very, very good job of that. And that is where grooming comes in, and I have questions that I'm going to answer about grooming within this series, but that is essentially grooming. And he was building up my trust year after year, day after day, treatment after treatment, to make me think he was a good person. And that is how I gained my trust in him. I honestly, I felt Larry was the best person I've ever met in my life. And I remember me and my dad talking one time and being like, there's no way somebody is just this nice. There's no way. But at the time, it was just, he was so kind and so nice, and it's all just a part of grooming, and that's how sexual abusers thrive. That's how they succeed, is because they groom you into thinking that they are a good person and that you need to rely on them. So I was definitely guilty of that. I relied on Larry every single day. When something was hurting me and I couldn't see him, I would text him about it. What can I do? I was, like I said, at his house 4 times a week. I thought my body was only staying put together because of Larry, and that he was the only reason why I was still able to do gymnastics with the injuries that I had. He was very, very good at what he did, sadly, but that is the moral of the story of how I met Larry and how my relationship with him grew to be so strong. So, like I said, I have a lot of questions that you guys asked me through the Instagram post, and I've divided up some of the questions into these videos. So for this video, I have 7 questions that I will be answering. And honestly, you guys rock, because I had over 100 questions from you guys, and to me, that's awesome. Thank you guys for opening up and trusting me to answer these questions for you guys, and I hope that my answers help you. And if you want anything else talked about more, let me know. I am more than happy to extend my answers to you guys through a message if you want it done privately. So with that being said, the very first question, and I wanted to put this dead first, was, would you ever be up to reading or listening to survivor stories? Yes, 110%. I actually do this all the time. There are people who I keep in touch with over Facebook Messenger, Instagram, or texting that have not spoken of their stories to other people yet, and I'm someone who knows of their story, so I am having pretty consistent conversations with a few people, and I help them day by day, how they're feeling. They might not text me for a week or a month, but when they do, I'm there for them. I listen to their stories, I help them, we relate. They feel things that I feel things they feel, and it's very healthy to find someone who will listen to you when you need to vent about something. So if you are someone who is looking to talk to another person about your story of abuse, no matter what it be, I am here to listen to it. I promise you, I will be there for you to listen, to respond. I might not get back with you right away because, like, I am doing school. I'm about to start a new job next week. So with that being said, it may take a while, and when you do reach out to me about something like that, I'm not just going to respond to you and give you just a quick answer, because I want to take time to read what you say, comprehend it, think about what I would say back to you, and then respond. So even if it's not like you send me a text and I don't get back to you within 10 seconds, I will, I promise. I'm totally 100% up for reading your guys' stories. The second question is, when did I find out about Nassar, and who was the first person I told? So I first found out about Nassar and his abuse, or his allegations of abuse, on September 12th, 2016. That was when the Indy Star article was released, where Rachel Denhollander and Jamie Dancher had gone forward to speak up about their abuse. And the first person that I told was people, I guess, my mom and dad, and I didn't really even necessarily tell them. It almost took them really, not harping on me, but just comforting me and telling me that it's okay if this happened to me, because my mom had asked me time and time again since the article came out, from when the porn charges came out a few months later, did he do this to you? No, he didn't, Mom. Stop asking me. You're annoying me. Larry was just trying to help me. Obviously, I was going to defend him. I mean, he did nothing but help me, or so I thought. And so I had to sit down with my parents, and they had to say, you know what, look, these porn charges came out. Did he do this to you? And over time, I was like, yeah, of course he did that to me, but it wasn't abuse. He was trying to help me. And so finally, I still remember the phone call. It was, my mom and dad were on the call together. It was like a conference call, and it wasn't really me saying, yes, he did this to me. It was more so me just, crap, like, this did happen to me. My parents obviously were the first people who knew, and then I told my coach at the time of the MSU gymnastics team, Kathy Klages, the very next day, and it was 2 days before my 20th birthday, and I went to her as a trusting adult, and I told her, and that kind of turned out to be a different story, but I will get to that in a separate video, so if you want to know about that story, stay tuned. The next question is, what was your response when you found out about Nassar and that he was abusing you? I guess when I found out he was abusing me, I was in shock, because it was really, really hard for me to comprehend. Because when you think someone is being so nice to you, and you think that they're helping you, and they only want the good for you, and they only have good intentions, it's really, really hard to then flip that switch and realize that is the exact opposite of what they were doing. Larry was using all of us, every single girl who has come forward, and male, that we were being used for his pleasure, and that is something that was very hard for me to comprehend, because I am someone who really, really believes in the good in people, and I never want to think that people have a bad side to them, and obviously I've learned differently since this has all happened, but I was embarrassed that I didn't catch it. I was embarrassed that this happened to me and that I let it happen to me, because I don't know, you guys. It's just really hard to answer this question and how you're feeling. You feel guilty, you're hurt, you feel shocked, you feel sad, you feel mad, you feel betrayed. It was a lot to take in. I was embarrassed. I felt guilty for the girls that got abused by him after me, and it was so many different emotions, and it's something that is very hard to take in the very beginning. And to this day, guys, I am still every single day trying to figure out how to deal with my emotions. So I guess just to summarize that question of how I was feeling when I found out, it was hard to comprehend. I was embarrassed, I was shocked, I was sad, I was mad, and I felt guilty. So this next question is, what was the reason for you or your family choosing Larry to treat me? And I kind of said this before, but I will add on to it. At Nassar's, Larry was the team doctor there, so that is who you saw. But also, the way that Larry was also able to groom us was the fact that his reputation was so high in the gymnastics world. He was an Olympic doctor. He either went to 4 or 5 Olympics. He went to world championships. He treated Olympians. And so for our family to have him in our backyard was also just another reason we felt really lucky, especially because he wasn't charging our insurance. So why wouldn't we go to him? He's an Olympic doctor and he doesn't charge us insurance. Seemed right at the time. The next question is, when did I realize that I was abused? And that was the day that the pornography charges came out in the media. So I want to say that was either the 2nd or 3rd week of December, and they came out in the media a couple days after he was charged. So the funny thing that I want to talk about this with the pornography charges, because this hits really close to home for me, literally. The only reason why they were able to find the videos of the pornography was because our garbage man came late that day. So what I mean by that is, obviously, because me and Larry lived so close together, we use the same garbage company, our guy is on the same route, and the only reason why the police were able to get to his garbage before the garbage man had taken the trash was because they could go through it, because our garbage man was late. If our garbage man had come at the time he was supposed to that day, the police would not have been able to find those tapes. So that to me is just a sign of God, and that it just gives me chills to this day, and I'm so thankful that our garbage man was late that day. So if you are on the route of where my house lives and you are the garbage man watching this video, you rock. Thank you for being late to work that day so the police could find those videos. The next question is, did I realize at the time that I was being abused? And if not, when did I start to realize it? So at the time when these treatments were physically happening to me, I did not realize that I was being abused, just because I thought that this was a necessary, legitimate treatment for my back. The way he described it was, I'm going to touch on pressure points to push on them, and that will relax your muscles so I can rub them out. Made sense to my 10-year-old, 11-year-old mind as much as it could. And so at the time, no, I didn't realize that I was being abused, because honestly that thought never crossed my mind, because why would Larry do something like that? And also, I was 10. I didn't really know what sexual things were. I spent my entire life in a gym. I was very sheltered. So no, at the time I didn't. And just from when he described it to me, like I said, I thought it was treatment. It made sense to me. I was 10 years old, 11 years old when it first started, and I never really thought any different when I grew up. And I also I had that level of trust in him because of the life that I had growing up near him, around him. The last question I'm going to be answering in this video is, do you believe Nassar was a groomer? Yes, I do, 110%. That is how he was able to gain the trust of us. I talked about this earlier, but just everything in general, from the gifts to me going to his house, seeing me after hours at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, going through the back door at the clinic so I wouldn't have to pay my insurance, being family friends with him, being a therapist for my bad days, just buying him Christmas gifts, buying his kids Christmas gifts. It was just, me and Larry had a very close relationship based off of the fact that we lived very close together, and that made it easy for him to groom me because we had so much in common. Yes, I do believe he was a groomer. I think any abuser is a groomer because that is how they gain your trust, and that is how, even when they do bad things to you, that still makes you think that they are a good person. So that is going to be it for this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this first one. If you have any recommendations on how to make it better, please let me know. And the next video that is going to be coming at you guys is coming forward as a sexual abuse survivor. So I will be talking to you guys kind of about my process about coming out and how I went about doing it, who I talked to when I talked to the police, the questions that you guys have for me. So please stay tuned for that one. And as always, if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to send them my way. And if you ever need anybody to talk to, I am here for you. This is, I hope, going to be an outlet for you guys where you can come here and just know that someone is here for you and someone is here to relate to you and that you are not alone. There are so many of us who are going through things like this, and no one deserves to have to go through it alone. With that being said, I hope you guys like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, so that way you can see all of the videos that are going to be coming, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.